Today, I'm going to tell you how I got mortgage free with no money. What I'm going to do is basically tell you my story from beginning to end. I'm Becky. I used to live in the consumer rat race just like you. But one day, I had enough, so I sold it all, moved to the country, and built my own log cabin with my own two hands. Now, I spend my time discovering new ways to live a simple, healthy lifestyle with more free time and way less stress. Then, sharing what I've learned with you. Welcome to Becky's Homestead. I looked in the newspapers and basically I scoured the newspapers for a piece of property that was owner financing. I didn't have a down payment. I didn't have good credit. We didn't have two nickels to rub together. So I had to get owner financing. So I scoured the papers and sure enough, you can find that. It's everywhere. You can find owner financing. So I found an 1.25 acres owner financing. It was $25,000. And so I went and had a look at it and it looked like a dump. It had just garbage all over. This rundown trailer, it was a single wide trailer, no windows in it, no stove, no refrigerator, nothing. So I just was like, oh boy, of course you're not gonna get much for $25,000. I did like the 1.25 acres though. It was, a decent sized piece of property. No fencing or nothing like that. It did have a well and it did have a septic for the trailer. So you have to wheel and deal. So what I did is I talked to the owner and I told him if he made the trailer livable, I would take it. And so he, we talked back and forth and he wanted to know what I meant by that. And I just said, put the windows in it, has to have a stove and refrigerator, running water, just livable. And the rest, I'll take it from there. So, okay, sure, we made the deal, great. $25,000 owner financing, he wanted $1,500 down. So we didn't have $1,500, but it was later in the year and tax time was rolling around. And we usually got about $1,500 back every year. So we just planned on using our tax return for the down payment. So that's what we did. I cannot honestly remember what the monthly payment was, but it was a very, very cheap monthly payment. It was a 15-year mortgage and it was about, I want to say 12% interest. So I honestly can't remember what the payment was, but it was very cheap, like better than renting. We were renting before that. So, okay, here we go. Oh, I also told him he had to clean up all the junk in the yard. So he agreed to all that. So he did all that. So we moved in, our rundown yucky trailer. But it was ours and we got it with no money. So just our tax return. So we took it from there. I just started improving the property right away. We just lived in the old trailer, it was livable, it was good enough. I started improving the property immediately. I put fencing up and, just cut down some trees and planted other things and put up fencing. Just whatever I could to improve the property. Got more junk out of it. He didn't get every junk. There was a lot of metal I found. Cleaned it all up. So the point is I just was improving the property because now I figured any improvement I made was an investment in my future. So of course I worked hard doing that, with whatever I could do with. I still didn't have much money, but it's surprising how a lot of times just your physical work with not much money, pennies, you can get a lot accomplished and you can upgrade things. So that's what I did. We did that for several years. Then I filled out an application to get a FFA mortgage on a house, a little house. It's tons of paperwork. The good part is they liked us because we already had a piece of property. So we were like a good candidate. They look at your finances, they pull your credit report, and somebody helps you through this because I had no idea what to do. They tell you, pay this bill off and do this and do that, and they'll instruct you, it's kind of a long-term plan. A year is what it is. It's a year plan. So we did everything the lady said was best to our ability. And then you come to the point, you're approved, and you get to pick out a home on whatever scale. There's a range. You know, you can get the cheapest little house, or you can go for the big house. And they do go off your income, but they still, you know, they'll stretch you right to the last penny if that's the route you want to take. We didn't. I wanted to get the absolute cheapest little house. They're all 3-bedroom, by the way. All the choices, of course, until you get into the high end, you can add more bedrooms. But basically the basic little houses were all 3-bedroom with a garage, 1-car garage. I wanted to pick the absolute cheapest one. The lady who was helping us, thankfully I listened to her. She said, don't get the cheapest one, get the next one up. You know, there wasn't much difference in price, and it was quite a difference in the look of the house, the style. So I said, okay, you know, I will. So we did. And it was a cement block house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-car garage, cement block house. And we didn't have to put a down payment on that. Oh, wait, I take it back. We did have to put a down payment on that. And there's another program called the SHIP Fund. And what the SHIP Fund does for first-time homeowners or very poor people, they put your down payment down for you. Again, it's like a grant, a lot of paperwork, you apply for that, and she helped us. You know, I filled out all the papers for that, and we got approved for the SHIP Fund, $5,000 down payment. The stipulation with the SHIP Fund grant is, though, if you sell the home, you have to pay the $5,000 back. If you live in the home forever, well then it's just a grant and you don't have to pay it back. So we were agreeable to that. That sounded fair. So we got the $5,000 SHIP Fund. So all these things are out there and available to people if you know about them, especially if you're very poor, but you're a hard worker, but you're very poor. So, okay, we got that. They built the house, you know, boop, 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 went up. Very nice house, you know, very professional. Everybody did a great job. So then I put an ad in the paper to give the trailer away. So somebody, of course, immediately wanted that old thing, surprisingly. Came, hauled that off. Now I really cleaned the property up nice. So now we have this nice new home on an acre and a quarter. Has fencing. I built a little barn, you know, just whenever I could afford the wood, I would just buy little piles of wood until I built this nice little barn. So that's what I did. And in the meantime, what I would do is we would get a very cheap horse and I would train the horse. Well, you know, me and the kids, the 2 boys, we'd train the horses in the backyard, and then we'd buy like a $200 horse, or we'd get a free horse that nobody wanted, and we'd train that horse and get it to be a pretty nice family horse. And then we'd sell the horse for maybe $1,000 or $1,500. I'd take that money and upgrade the house. One of the things I did is I built a 12 by 20 patio on the back of the house. And then I covered that with lattice roof. So it was like filtered sun. Very nice, off the back, sliding glass doors. Really was a nice addition to just kind of an ordinary house. It spruced it up a little bit. Stuff like that, you know, that's how I built my barn too. We'd train a horse, sell it. And I know there's a lot of people out there that have other little skills they can do to make a few bucks. So that's what I would suggest you do. You know, try to take this pathway, and whatever your skills are, you make a few bucks, invest it into the property, invest it into the home, you know, build a patio, put up fencing, build a little shop, anything you can do to make the property better. So now, you know, every year, this was over a period of 7 to 10 years, this entire story I'm telling you. And then every year we'd get our tax bill, our house value went up, up, up. So pretty soon, you know, it passed and we had equity in the home, quite a bit of equity. So of course that made us so happy. And don't take out an equity loan, because everybody we knew, all our friends were doing that. You know, they'd have a little equity in the home. They would run out and get an equity loan. And then they had 2 mortgages they were paying. So I knew I didn't want to do that. My goal was to get mortgage free. So eventually, it just felt like the right time to me. I just felt it in my bones. Okay, we have to sell. We're going to put this on the market. and we're gonna sell because I had a strong desire to build my own house. Not everybody will take that road. Somebody, some people might just want to take the equity, the profit they've made, and buy something that's already built, but still pay it cash and be mortgage free. Whatever road you take is perfectly fine. The end goal is to be mortgage free. So there's a lot of ways to get there. I'm just telling you mine to give you some ideas. So we sold the home. In the meantime, though, before we had the house on the market, I was looking around for land. And I had found this piece of property that we're on now, which is about 2 acres of property. Great price. It was $6,000. Now, of course, I was, didn't really want to make another bill, but for that, I was more than willing. $75 a month was the payment. Again, it was very cheap down payment. It was like $1,200 down. So same thing with the taxes. We could swing it and put that money down and get this piece of property. And just adding $75 to our monthly bills was, no big deal. We could swing it. So I knew then when we put the house on the market, that was the goal. We were gonna, come to this piece of property and build a house and try to get mortgage free. So we did, of course it was hard. I knew the price I wanted to get for my house. It was $130,000. I wasn't gonna budge from there because I had built a nice patio in the back. It was an 1.25 acres, brand new home. I had bought a used pool, above ground pool, put it right by the patio. I just had it set up very nice for some other family. And, I had the 1-car garage. It was just a very nice kind of low, medium, new home. So I knew I didn't want to take less than $130,000. And this is the thing I want to tell everybody. Real estate agents, they just want you to sell. They don't care how much profit you make. So the first real estate agent was telling me, because it didn't sell for $130,000, oh, your price is too high. You have to lower your price to sell, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I don't like that advice. I think she was just looking after herself and she just wanted it to sell. She didn't care for how much. That's how she makes her money. So I didn't listen to her. I went and relisted once the contract is up, because you sign a contract. I went and relisted with another company, and it was with a man this second time. And he agreed. The price was fair. It was a great price. And I actually raised the price to $130,000 because I think I had it down at $125,000 or $128,000, around there. It was less than $130,000. And I told the new man I wanted to raise the price, not lower the price. I did the opposite of what the first real estate agent told me. So he agreed, he listed it. Now here's the funny thing. There were some people that came to look at the house when it was listed with the first lady at the lower price. Now I can't, tell you exactly, but it was like $125,000 or $127,000, around there. They came back to look at it when it was listed with the second real estate agent, which was a man, at a higher price at $130,000, and they bought it. I thought that was so funny. So it just goes to show you that, sometimes listening to the advice of the professionals isn't always the best thing to do. Listen to yourself, listen to your gut, and, kind of go with that. So anyway, we sold the house. We ended up with $52,000 profit after we paid back the ship fund and, everything we paid off, which was, not a huge amount of money, but that was a lot of money for us. We had never had that much cash ever, ever, ever. And, to work our jobs, we never would have saved that much cash. I think we could have worked a lifetime and, we're poor people and we're not driven to be CEOs. That's not our lifestyle that we want. So anyway, that was a lot of money for us. So again, it took very carefully planning. While I had my house on the market, because it was on the market for a year, that entire time, a full year, I was doing my research on log cabin kits. I pretty much had decided from then, by then, that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to build a little tiny log cabin. I wanted more land and a smaller house. That was the road I was taking. So, you know, I went from 1.25 acres to the 2 acres here. And I was going from the 3-bedroom, 2-bath house to a 2-bedroom cabin with 1 bathroom. So I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. Like, it was my dreams coming true. So I was very gung-ho, very happy about it. So that's what I did. I did tons of research on cabins. I have a building background because my father was a carpenter, and I helped him and worked with him my whole childhood. So I already knew all the tools and how to use the tools and all that stuff. I had a great start, you know, to build my own house. And in fact, my father was the one who suggested that I get a log cabin kit. So, because the log cabin kit, you know, they do just cut the wood and drop the whole pile of wood off. And they're like, here you go, here's your house, put it up. You're like, oh boy, you know, it looks overwhelming. But the good part about that is, you know, there's not much cutting. You know, and it's all there, it's all cut to the proper size unless they make a mistake. I mean, you do have to pay attention. But then you just have the, you know, task of putting it together. So that was great advice from my father, and I'm so happy I listened to him, and I love my cabin. Okay, so I did the year's research in the cabin, and in the, you know, in that time period, that year time period, I would go look at models, different models, and see what was a good, sturdy, good quality home. So I made my choice and found the cabin I wanted and everything. So then we packed up all our stuff, put it in storage, because this piece of property we're on was literally just a virgin piece of property. It was woods. There was nothing here. So we put all our stuff in storage, and I tried to get rid of as much stuff as I could. So in that year period too, I was having yard sales and just getting rid of stuff because I wanted to simplify my life. So that's what I did. And it's a great journey. This is all a journey that I'm telling you, and it was fabulous, and I recommend it to anybody. You know, anybody out there can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So, okay, there you go. So we're down to the bare minimum. We put that in storage because we wanted that bill to be cheap while we were building the cabin. And then we literally just came here, lived in a tent, and started from scratch, and had the well power and septic put in, and you know, that way we had water here on the building site and power, which we needed. And then we just lived in the tent and built the house. The cabin kit we bought, we paid cash for. We had the $52,000. Obviously, we had to quit our jobs because we lived, you know, an hour and a half away from this property. So there was no way we could commute and build or anything. We were just going for it. We were just diving in. You left that and came here. So we lived in the tent and everything. We had to quit our jobs. And we just, you know, devoted all our time to getting the house underway, getting the cabin built, the foundation, and getting everything done that needed done. And so we had the $52,000, and the cabin kit cost $29,000. So, you know, of course, when you go and look at cabins, and this goes for anybody that's looking at any houses, once they have their money, it's very tempting. I mean, I'm walking through and I'm just like, oh, look at that one. You know, it's so cute. It has a loft and a little fireplace, and oh, look at that one. You know, it has such gorgeous fancy windows, and it's a little bigger than I wanted, but oh, just look at it. It's so gorgeous. And, you know, it's very tempting while you're at it, you're shopping anyway, to say, oh, you know, maybe I'll get that fancier one. And here's the thing. Of course, the man who is selling the cabins, he's going to push you towards that direction. Like, oh, you know, you can put a big payment down and then we can finance the rest and you just have a little monthly payment. So it's, you know, they try to push you in that direction, and it's kind of hard, you know, basically to stay very focused on the goal. Because see, now I've been in my cabin for 9 years. That man is long gone. He could care less if I had a mortgage every month. He got his commission or whatever, however he gets paid. He doesn't care. So you have to stay very focused and map out your plan, map out your finances, map out your lifestyle. I knew I didn't want to work 40 hours a week for the rest of my life. I don't want to work 45 hours. I don't want to work 60 hours. My goal is 30 hours. If I could work under 30 hours a week and pay all my bills and live my simple little life, that is my goal. I want to be happy like that. I like having the freedom and having a simple life and doing things I love. You know, spending more time cooking home-cooked meals, working in my garden, you know, obviously playing with my horses, which are mules. All that stuff. That's the lifestyle I choose. So it all boils down to your lifestyle. You know, what kind of lifestyle do you want to live in the future? And that is how you map out your plan to become mortgage free. So this is the story of how I did it. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. I did it with no money. And here I am, you know, in my house, mortgage free. And let me just assure you, it's the best feeling ever not to have a mortgage. It's just like this huge weight is lifted off you. You're not stuck in the rat race. You're not on the treadmill just running to pay all your bills. And you know, that mortgage comes up month after month after month. And it's for the next 30 years. I mean, that is almost depressing. No wonder everybody's health is failing in this country. You know, it's like, in order to make all those bills, they're busy. And then what they do is they sacrifice their home-cooked meals because they're on the run all the time. And if they're not at work, they're exhausted. They just want to rest. The last thing they want to do is grow their own food and get in the kitchen and cook a big healthy meal. So of course they get fast food. It's easy when you're exhausted. So you can see how you just get caught in that rat race and you're just, you know, you feel like the rat wheel is spinning and it's kind of scary to jump off it when it's going. You know, it's terrifying maybe. So unless, you know, you spend time thinking about what kind of lifestyle you want and the goals that you want for your life and your family, you know, you're just stuck in the rat race going around and around and around. So that's my story and that's my advice. And I hope so much that this helps some people out there and also some families.
Sign up for Becky's Homestead newsletter. Go to beckysHomestead.com and sign up on the right. You'll get articles, news, and specials from Becky every month. Unsubscribe anytime, no spam. If you like this video, click the like button. It really does help us a lot. And if you want to be notified every time we post a new video, click the subscribe button.
If you would like to help support Becky's Homestead so we can make more videos for you, when you do your shopping, if you go through our link on Amazon, you don't pay 1 penny extra, but Amazon gives us a small percentage of every purchase. And that helps us to produce more nice homesteading videos for all of you out there. The link is at the top of my website.